Hi guys, PJ here with the PC release of Returnal. Now, we're basically looking into this to see how well it runs on a GTX 1660 Ti coupled with a Ryzen 2700, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and then later in the video we're going to look at it on an RTX 2060 with a Core i7, again 16 gigabytes of RAM. Two big differences between these cards. Although power wise they are very similar, one supports DLSS and the other does not. First things first, let me start this by saying Returnal does not have micro stutter like a lot of games do nowadays. It actually runs really well. It takes a bit of tweaking to get it right, especially if you want a locked 60 frames per second, which, let's face it, in this type of game you're going to need a locked 60 frames per second. That's the goal here, rather than, in my opinion, overall maxed image quality. So aiming for the 60 frames per second, what I'm going to do is give you my recommended settings through trial and error on both cards. Okay, now the in-game benchmark does appear to be buggy. Whether or not it will get patched we shall see, but it actually shows 100% GPU usage all the time. Well, it certainly did for the cards I was trying it on, irrelevant of what settings you were using. So it looks a bit messed up. It also didn't show the correct amount of RAM being used either. So it's very misleading. It said it was using 3.5–4 gigabytes of RAM at times, and in actual fact it's normally using around 10 or 11 gigabytes of RAM. So very misleading. It was also slightly out on the GPU amount of memory as well. So the readouts you've got on the screen on the left basically show you the load on the GPU, how much memory the GPU is using, and the percentage of all the cores for the CPU that it's using. So it's pretty evenly spread across the cores. It's a pretty well optimized game in my opinion, and like I say, we're using a decent amount of RAM. Now the game on both systems is installed on a NVMe drive, so there's no problems with stutter or loading in assets as we go. Both computers have a separate SSD to record this footage onto and another SSD for Windows 10. So there shouldn't be any impact or minimal impact on performance of the machines. Like I say, you know, I've got my recommended settings here to make the game A look nice and B sticks to 60. Certainly more challenging to do on the GTX 1660 because DLSS on this is a massive gain. Guys, if you can use it, if you've got an RTX card, you basically laughing. It really does save the game, and like on a lot of games nowadays. Very good bit of kit, highly recommended. As for controls, movement and controllers for that matter, the PlayStation 5 controller plugged in via USB works faultlessly. I've played this on PS5 and the controller acts the same way as if you're playing it on a PS5, so it does use the features. It's worth using the PS5 controller. However, it also does work with Xbox controllers. It's just that you haven't got like the little speaker built in and some of the other haptics and bits and bobs like that, which is a bit of a shame, but it does play well enough, you know, on an Xbox controller, and of course keyboard mouse works as well. It is a fast-paced game, so, and it doesn't have saves, so if you're not used to this type of game, be warned. It is very much a case of, unfortunately, get good, and that's something that I certainly struggle with. But hey, we're not here to talk about the game as good as it is, we're here to talk about performance. Now, if you're going to try and play this on a GPU that's got less than 4 gigabytes of VRAM, you're going to be definitely on all the low settings. In fact, when I first booted this up on both machines, the game recommended full low settings across the board. Now that turned out to not be true. You know, you can have some nice settings as you've just seen in the settings menu there, but you're going to have to stick 1080p with these GPUs. I've tried this at 1440p on both machines, and to be honest with you, it was just that bit too taxing for both of them. 1080p is the sweet spot. Game runs nicely. Yes, it does run better on the RTX card because of the DLSS mostly, but there's a nice playable experience on the GTX 1660 Ti as well, both cards with 6 gigabytes VRAM. Guys, I'm going to leave this to play out. Keep your eyes open. Like I said, I do have settings on show and everything for it, so hopefully this was some help for some of you guys out there that are thinking of buying this. Thanks a lot for watching. Like I say, I'll let it play out. See you for now.
Persona dispatched. Recorded log found. Adding to databank. Playing back now.
Scout log. Atropos. Elapsed time, 30 minutes since last crash. Whole areas of this forest are rearranging themselves like a fluid puzzle after each of my... Whenever I return, per Astra protocol, I will not be recovered until I reach the broadcast signal. If you're hearing this, you are stuck here too.
I don't remember recording that. Security system encountered. Discovered piled corpses of a xenotype species. Likely the architects of these ruins. These could be the sentients that broadcast the white shadow signal.
It is impossible to escape. I have tried everything. I'm always brought back by... There is a moment between death and rebirth.
Encountered hostile predator. Abandoning Helios. Heading towards White Shadow Broadcast. This forest contains extensive ruins of a xenotype civilization. Ancient walls, foundations, and statues. Scout log. Atropos. I have found a deceased Astra Scout here. Checking identification on helmet. It's xenotype species. Likely the architects of these ruins. These could be the sentients that broadcast the white shadow signal.
It is impossible to escape. I have tried everything. I'm always brought back by... There is a moment between death and rebirth when tentacles drag me down, screaming, drown.
Encountered hostile predator.